casualties shake the team, but the Grand Master guides Kale and Lyra. Celine's forces press the attack. Subscribe to Turmoil Studio to continue the Eclipse Saga. The strike began before dawn. No horns sounded, no banners were raised. In the outer eastern quarter where patrols overlapped imperfectly and authorities still hesitated, shadows moved with surgical precision. Not a raid, not a siege, a correction. 3 sentries fell without sound. A supply relay collapsed inward, its runners intercepted before alarms could spread. Celine advanced through the smoke like a blade drawn cleanly from its sheath. Measured, unhurried, exact. She did not seek panic. She sought response time. Steel met steel briefly. Light flickered and vanished. The defenders reacted late. Repositioning after damage was already done. Celine adjusted instantly, reading movement patterns, command delays, signal gaps. The city was still deciding. That was enough. She raised her hand. The shadows withdrew in unison, dissolving back into alleys and broken causeways just as the first delayed alarm rang. Too late. Too predictable. From a fractured tower overlooking the district, Celine watched the response unfold. Patrols converged unevenly. Orders contradicted one another. A captain waited for authorization that never arrived. Then, everything changed. A new signal cut across the city. Not loud, not ceremonial, precise. Formations shifted without debate. Routes cleared. Units redeployed with unnatural speed, abandoning redundant coverage and sealing pressure points Celine had not yet exploited. The city inhaled and moved. Celine narrowed her eyes. This was not crown authority. This was not field improvisation. This was doctrine. At the heart of the response, Grand Master Theron stood within the Citadel's inner command chamber, eyes fixed, not on maps, but on flow. Runners arrived. He did not look at them. Signals pulsed across the city, relayed through pre-established contingencies that had not existed yesterday. Lock the eastern corridor, he said calmly. Do not pursue. Reclaim function. Let them leave. No hesitation followed. The city obeyed. KL arrived as the last echoes of conflict faded, sword still sheathed. He saw no aftermath. To fight only motion, resolving into order. Wounded were already being moved. Supply routes reopened under armed escort. Civilian access lanes adjusted without force. Too efficient. Commander Edrion joined him, breath tight. That wasn't the crown. Kale nodded slowly. No. Across the district, Celine tested the perimeter once more briefly. Light forces adjusted before she committed. A containment net, formed with unnerving precision. Not aggressive, not reactive, preventive. She withdrew fully this time, landing atop a ruined spire as dawn finally broke. Below her, Terenfall stabilized, not restored, but aligned. Celine did not smile. She had seen this before. Within the Citadel, King Elryan observed the reports in silence as Theron concluded his directives. When the chamber cleared, only the two remained. You acted without my declaration, the king said evenly. Theron inclined his head. The city required it. And the people? Elryan asked. Theron met his gaze for the first time. We'll adapt. Kale encountered Theron later that morning in a narrow hall overlooking the inner districts. No guards flanked the Grand Master. None were needed. You changed the city, Kale said. Theron did not deny it. I restored its function. At the cost of trust, Theron regarded him calmly. Trust is a luxury during fracture. Kale's jaw tightened. People aren't variables. No, Theron replied. They are constants, which is why Doctrine exists. Outside, Lyra watched patrols move with renewed precision. They're faster, she said. Cleaner. And colder, Riven added from the shadows. No room to breathe. Thorn observed the formations, expression unreadable. This will hold, he said, until it doesn't. High above, Nyx and Selene observed in silence. This is different, Selene said at last. They've chosen a spine. Nyx inclined her head. One that won't bend. Then it will break, Selene replied. Or cut, Nyx said, far beyond the city, within stone untouched by dawn. Vaynar felt the shift ripple outward. Pressure had been applied and met. He smiled faintly. Back in Terenfall, Seraphine stood alone, the child's light steady but dimmer than before. Not weakened. Contained. She closed her hand gently around it. The city had chosen a doctrine. Now, it would learn what that doctrine demanded. The shadows would return. Not to test fear, but to test conviction. And, next time, neither side would be observing. The second strike came at noon. Not from the shadows, from within routine. A warehouse inspection team failed to report in. Not unusual, until the second team rerouted, and also vanished. No alarms, no screams, just absence, spreading like ink through the command lattice. Theron felt it before the message arrived. Seal the inner loop, he ordered. No pursuit, collapse redundancy. Runners moved. Signals pulsed. The city flexed inward, shedding inefficiency like dead weight. Where once hesitation clogged response, now absence triggered action. Kale stood beside the command dais, watching icons shift across the tactical surface. You're letting them move freely. I'm denying them reaction, Theron replied. That means civilians are exposed. That means civilians are not mistaken for targets. Kale said nothing, because the logic held. In the southern quarter, Selene emerged among workers clearing debris from the siege. She wore no armor now, only muted cloth and intent. Around her, civilians moved under newly enforced flow corridors, their paths efficient, constrained, predictable. She watched guards rotate with clockwork precision, watched patrol leaders adjust routes without verbal command, watched a child hesitate at a checkpoint, then be guided through without question. Doctrine was functioning, which meant it could be exploited. She raised 2 fingers. Across the district, subtle disruptions unfolded. A crate misplaced. A signal flare delayed by seconds. A civilian redirected into a corridor moments before patrol reassignment. No violence, just friction. Within minutes, Theron felt it again. Not failure, but stress. Do nothing, he said quietly. A junior officer hesitated. Sir, let the system absorb it. The disturbances resolved themselves. Patrols compensated. Flow adjusted. Civilians rerouted without panic. No command escalation required. Selene watched from an upper balcony as the city corrected itself. Her expression hardened. This was not a city being ruled. This was a city being trained. She withdrew before containment could tighten. High above, Nyx tracked the data stream in silence. They're no longer reacting to us, she said. They're reacting to instability itself. Selene landed beside her moments later. Which means next time, instability won't be enough. Agreed, Nyx said. We escalate variables. Below them, Lyra shadowed a patrol through the inner districts, eyes sharp. They don't look at the people anymore, she murmured. They look at patterns. Riven nodded, harder to fool, easier to break. Thorn joined them, voice low. Discipline like this keeps cities alive. It also crushes dissent. And dissent, Lyra said, is where people breathe. In the Citadel, King Aelrian summoned Theron privately. You've stabilized the city, the king said. But you've narrowed it. Theron did not dispute the phrasing. Narrow structures survive pressure, and wide ones inspire loyalty. Inspiration does not stop blades. Aelrian turned away, gaze fixed on the city below. Neither does fear, forever. Theron watched him carefully. Fear is inefficient. Compliance is not. The silence between them stretched not hostile, but unresolved. Elsewhere, Kael walked the streets again, unnoticed now. Civilians moved with purpose, but little conversation. Guards intervened early, gently, decisively. Conflict was prevented before it formed, yet eyes followed uniforms with calculation, not gratitude. Seraphine felt it too. The child's light no longer pulsed in response to danger. It pulsed in response to constraint. Not resisting recording, she pressed her palm against her chest, unease threading through resolve. "This isn't wrong," she whispered, "but it isn't whole." Night fell again over Terenfall. The city did not relax. It functioned. From the shadows beyond the walls, Vanar observed the change not with anger, but interest. "They have chosen a blade," he said softly, "not a shield." Behind him, the darkness shifted. "Then, sharpen ours," he continued. Far above the city, Celine watched lanterns align into perfect grids, patrols gliding along optimized routes. A city under Doctrine, a system ready for stress beyond its tolerance. She turned away at last. "Next time," she said, "we don't test response." Nyx followed her gaze into the dark. "We test belief." Back in Terenfall, Kael stood at the highest rampart as midnight approached. The city below him was quiet, not with peace, but with restraint. Theron joined him without announcement. "You disapprove," the Grandmaster said. "I understand," Kael replied. "That's worse." Theron studied the city. "Understanding does not require agreement." "No," Kael said, "but it demands responsibility." They stood in silence as the city functioned beneath them, alive, aligned, constrained. The fault line had not closed. It had been reinforced, and when it broke, it would not shatter outward. It would cut straight through the center. Far from the city, in shadow untouched by doctrine or crown, the Guardians prepared. The next engagement would not be about speed, or fear, or control. It would be about whether conviction could survive the weight of certainty. And Terenfall, sharpened and narrowed, would be the blade tested first. Morning arrived without ceremony. The city did not wake, it transitioned. Shift horns sounded in staggered intervals. Markets opened in phases. Movement flowed through prescribed corridors with quiet efficiency. Conversation thinned. Eyes stayed forward. People were adjusting. That unsettled Kael more than unrest ever had. Thorn watched formations reset with mechanical precision. "They're learning fast." "They're being shaped," Lyra replied. "Same result," Riven said quietly. "Different cost." At the Citadel, Theron reviewed condensed reports, patterns without narrative. Stability held. "Expand doctrine parameters," he ordered. Incremental, the city tightened almost imperceptibly. Celine felt it at once. Choice narrowed. Intervention arrived earlier. Compliance deepened. Efficiency rose. So did tension. Near the inner districts, Seraphine paused as the child's light synchronized with the city's rhythm. Not resisting. Recording. "That's what frightens me," she whispered. "It understands this." The first fracture came without violence. A small group refused relocation, not in protest, but in stillness. Guards arrived. Protocol stalled. No directive applied. Kael stepped forward. Hold. The system adapted. The corridor rerouted. Order preserved. But something lingered. That night, Kael faced Theron beneath open sky. "They didn't resist," Kael said. "They opted out. A minor deviation. Theron replied. For now, Kale said. What happens when more follow? Theron met his gaze. Doctrine adapts. And if adaptation demands force, then force becomes necessary. Silence followed. Beyond the walls, Bainar listened to the city's sharpened rhythm. They've chosen certainty, he murmured. Good. High above, Celine turned away from the lights of Terenfall. They're predictable again, she said. Nyx inclined her head. Then belief is the next target. Dawn approached. The city stood aligned, efficient, controlled. The fault line had not closed. It had been refined.